Hi, I'm here today with Smarkala from the Multifaith Housing Initiative, and we had a chat about 4.5 years ago, I guess it was, and we were talking at that time about Veterans House, which of course became quite a successful venture. And so I thought we'd bring us up to date on what the progress has been since that last time we talked. So, Sue, how are you? Good, glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you. The progress on Veterans House is that it's fully rented. It's 40 units. It's fully rented. It's in the midst of being transferred to a new charity called the Veterans House Canada. Veterans House Canada has its own board, is its own charitable organization, and will continue creating veterans houses across Canada. Their hope is to create up to 5 of them.
And there's 2 cities vying right now for a Veterans House, right?
Wherever we get land first, either Toronto or Edmonton.
Wow.
So that's the plan.
I think my personal vote would be with Edmonton, of course, because there's a lot of ex-military people who live in that area, for sure.
Yes. Well, hopefully that pushes that city to give us land.
Yeah. So, what other activities are you involved in now?
Busy times at MHI right now. We are finalizing the funding for a new building down on the Brett Flats.
Oh, really?
In Ottawa, this is an area that has been pushed about and never get anything done. So we're working with a major development company from Toronto called Dream, and they're going to build a two-tower set of buildings, 600 units, and MHI is going to own 132 of them.
Wow, that's quite
So
an
it'll be
expansion.
inside,
Wow,
yes.
wow.
Right now we're 139 units with Veterans House going. This is 132, so almost snap of a finger, we're going to be double. So that's interesting.
Now, are you also involved with Queenswood United on this?
Not at all.
Oh.
Queenswood United came to Multifaith Housing a number of years ago. I wasn't with MHI then. But Queenswood didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Neither did MHI.
That's right.
So they found their way through with Kindred's Works, I believe,
Yes,
to come up with a plan and a strategy. And I don't know too much about it, but we were watching it closely in the papers to see if they get zoning approval, I guess.
So what is the need out there? What is, have you got any idea of how many of our veterans are out on the street or in the kind of health that they can't sustain themselves? Is there any idea?
Before Veterans House was imagined, when people went into shelters and looked for housing support, there was no indication whether or not they're veterans. Once Veterans House was started, a change was made to that intake form to be able to tick were they veterans or not. So in the course of that, some statistics came out of how many people there were on the street. Now, I think there's more than 40. I can't remember the number now, but it's certainly an ongoing issue. And I couldn't begin to tell you what the problems are in, say, Toronto or Edmonton,
Right,
but you just know if there's a need in one place, there's probably a need in the other.
Well, especially when you say 40 in Toronto or in Ottawa, and we know that this area there's a lot of predominance of ex-military, ex-RCMP
Yes,
people.
yes.
If that's the need here, I can't imagine what it would be outside of Ottawa, like say in places up in the valley, or Renfrew, where they don't have anything.
Yeah. Often what happens, I'm hearing, is that these vets will move to Ottawa or bigger communities where they think they'll get more support, housing or support services, mental health, that kind of thing. So how many are in those small towns? I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you talk about need, in Ottawa, there are 12,000 families, not people, families looking for housing.
Wow.
So that's not, veterans may be mixed in there, although I doubt it, they'd be streamed over to veterans housing. But that's a whole lot of people.
And of course, with new immigrants coming in or refugees coming in. Yes.
Yeah, and people that they're talking about that in the papers with the Ukraine folks coming in. One of the people on our board, who is Muslim, was telling us at the last board meeting that she had been following 2 immigrant women, single moms with several children, and they just got housing. And she said, you can't believe how excited they were about having their own place. They could now enroll in school. They could now get a job. There's so many things you can't do if you don't have an address.
Yes.
It's incredibly sad.
So obviously, this work is by far not over yet.
I don't think we'll ever be able to build enough housing, affordable housing. At some point, Canada has got to look at guaranteed livable income.
Yes.
It isn't possible to build that much.
I think that's one of the issues that the church proper has been advocating.
That's right, it is. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad to see you're not idle in any way.
No.
Is there anything that
wonderfully busy.
Is there anything that people can do to help? Is there anything that people can do to contribute to what you're doing?
To be courageous?
Yes.
Multifaith housing is made up of members who vote on what we are doing. So to become a member of MHI is a step in the right direction. It's $100 a year, and you show that your congregation is interested in housing, affordable housing. The other thing that churches can do to get involved is to volunteer. So you could be on a committee. There's 6 or 7 committees. And there's also quite a few people who help out with maintenance of the buildings. Painting, cleaning when someone leaves, that kind of thing. It's not, you don't need to be a civil engineer to do it. It's just it's household stuff kind of thing. So you can get involved that way too.
Well, and you bring out a good point. I mean, it's not just being present. It's being present in different ways that might be something that someone who, say, wouldn't want to be face-to-face with this, but could be there for doing other things like maintenance or repair or whatever, or providing material. So there's so many different ways that they can serve.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Reverend Michael Blair talked about in this AGM is the need to get to know the community. So it struck me that meeting some of the people from the Haven, some of the buildings that we have, and getting to know them and what is it like to have housing. Like get into a real conversation about what that means to them, and let the various member churches or churches who are thinking about becoming a member, let them know the depth of the appreciation is for having housing.
Well, that's very special. So it gives us something to think about in terms of our radical service to the community.
Exactly. Yeah.
Getting outside the 4 walls, basically.
Yes.
So some radical justice.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Sue, that's been good to talk to you. I hope we don't have to wait 4 years to find out again what's going on. But
next meeting, because we might have new news next.
Well, that would be wonderful, and we'll be here for you. So.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've been with Sue Smarkala from the Interfaith Housing Initiative, and as you heard, there is opportunities for some bold discipleship available through them. So thanks again.
Thank you.